First, Michael, I want to thank you because I really love the selection.
Thanks.
I think it's indeed personal. Like I could have never made that selection myself because I wouldn't have made the connections. But they are all works I really, really like from the collection. So, you know, it also resonated with things that are very personal for me. I'm curious about the Carol Rama. So that's the second image at the top of the grid.
Yeah.
Because this is a work I really love, but you know, I would have thought it was not an easy one to spot because it's a small abstract work. It's actually from the 1950s.
It's just yeah, I just find it calming and yeah, it's small but very you know, it's quiet and very
Yeah, but I find it special as well because you know it could be just one of many abstract works you can find, but it has something quirky and intimate that
it's quite it's got a bit of,
special.
yeah, it's got a bit of energy, and it's abstract, but there seems to be, it seems to, you can see things in it, like it's kind of figurative in a way. And just I just like the use of colors, just the way they relate to each other. They seem to complement each other beautifully.
And the image underneath, which is a very, you know, I could never fully understand what's going on in this painting because the forms are, some characters are upside down, others are standing, they're all merging into another. Did you think maybe it was a party or something? I always thought of this painting a bit as a party.
Yeah, it's very it's full of energy and action and movement, and yeah, I love the use of the quite, you know, the negative spaces, the black negative spaces, which are nice, quiet spaces, you know, that kind of offset the more kind of energy, the brushwork, the vigorous brushwork and color of the rest of the rest of the most of the rest of the painting. Yeah, it's good.
And then we can go to the maybe the Sparkle Knot by Benglis. So that's the knot with the sparkle and the red. I also find this a quite radical work because this is a woman who in the 60s, 70s, you know, when everything was minimal and very restrained, she brought all those elements, a bit silly, like sparkle stuff and colors, and you know, this is very playful and a bit provocative to the from the time, but at the same time it's also mastered. This language she's making fun of, she's totally masters it as well. So were you interested in the fact that it was noted, like that it was also a way to bind to
Yeah, I kind of related, it's just the kind of connection that it felt. Just, I mean, I think you know, just it spoke to me of connectedness.
but also I guess you let your mind be also taken by formal associations, no? I mean, that formally things echoed each other. It feels very natural, the selection. You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm going to do this because of that, but just that you were able to see, you know, in a way that maybe when you look at things more conceptually, it blocks the connection you could make visually. So that's what the selection was for me, to think, oh, it's really free in the way he looks at things. And this freedom gives a very
Mm.
satisfying result for the eye.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of interested in the kind of the
But I think you spotted very subtle things, you know, works that are not the most, I mean, the Carol Rama, the Walter Price, the Sophie von Hellerman, the Alice Neal, the Benglis, they are the Kai Althoff, they're all very sophisticated in a way that they are not the kind of works people would be attracted to, I think, the most in the collection. They would take, and the fact that you pick them up without any kind of historical background, or it reassures me also about the quality of those work, you know.
yeah. I found
That
them
this
safe. Yeah,
comes true even if you don't have the frame of reference to look at them.
Mm.
That for me was something very, and made me very happy that this quality could shine, you know, even virtually and even without context. That makes me happy.
There seems to be there's certain playfulness in quite a lot of the works, and kind of childlike quality.
Yeah, I mean, a sense of humor.
But refined. It's refined. I mean, I'm attracted to artists that that kind of take something, take the kind of children, you know, childlike innocence and all that kind of stuff, and kind of refine it, and put it and present it in their own way, and you know, give it their own meaning. But there's a certain innocence to, you know, and playfulness to quite a lot of the works, and kind of certain, I suppose it's quite a lot of them are quite feminine.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of women in your
Yeah,
selection, which
but
is great.
not just the artists. I wasn't really looking at just the artist names, really.
Oh,
Just
but
the forms. The forms are quite feminine, you know, and they're not harsh or angular, and you know, full of angles, and
yeah.
they're very kind of comforting.
Yeah, but which is also something I look at art today, like in a way with modern art, we've been used to, you know, this kind of radicality that things had to be provocative and, you know, and aggressive, and that it gave a quality to the work. But I think today we look at art to create connection again. You know, we've been so separated, we've been so disconnected that I think art can play a role in bringing things together. You know,
Yeah.
men and nature and animals, and you know, this connected to the outside. I mean, and I think art can do that. And yeah, indeed, I mean, the selection you've made for me is totally coherent with that. And it's true that you say childlike, but I think there is a lot of humor in a lot of the works you chose. Certainly the Wattler, the Rebecca Warren, the Rondinone, you know, a lot of them are playful, but with a bit of humor in it.
Yeah, there's kind of there's literal and metaphorical kind of connectedness, and what to the like to the works. I thought of it just as I said earlier, just the I saw that there's kind of three kind of themes. There was as I was saying before, you know, the human wanton connectedness as one theme, the natural world as another theme, and colors as another theme. But some of them cross to another crossover to another theme. So you know, it's kind of a bit fluid.
Okay, I mean, Michael, I think, you know, I want to thank you because it's been really nice, and I mean, I'm really looking forward the little book.
Okay.
I really like how you connected things, you know, really, it's it's a very specific personal view, and I don't think it's so easy for people to do that. I think, you know, most people try to do something, but you didn't try to do something, you just connected to the work and it came true, and you saw things, you know, visually, you made visual connection that I don't think anyone else would have done. So anyway, it's also a portrait of how you look
Yeah. Yeah.
things.
Definitely. Yeah. And a kind of portrait of this time that we're living through.
Also, I mean, or what we are
Yeah.
missing, I suppose. It's
Mm.
also about
Yeah. It's
longing.
kind of, yeah, exactly. I was going to say longing. It's what, you know,
Mm,
it'd be interesting to see if things like the crafts become more popular. Because quite way well, I suppose there was a period in the past when the crafts were kind of were looked down upon, you know, by the fine arts as not
mm,
being, you know, it's not.
of
It's,
course.
but there's a certain kind of yeah, I find there's a certain kind of warmth and humanity to it.
I think also it's a very contemporary look in the sense that I find what you selected very meaningful for this time.
Yeah, thanks.
It's very good for today. So thank you very much. It's
Yeah,
been very rewarding.
thank you.